I didn't say
I what the no shit, no girl wanted me. I got nothing. I barely got laid in college.
This is he was doing very well freshman year.
Freshman year, but after that, did I get laid?
Yeah, but I wasn't going to parties after that. You stopped getting laid after I stopped going to parties.
Because we all gave up. Because we didn't join a fraternity, and the only way to get laid was to go to a frat. So I was like, all right, I'm not getting laid. And I after that, it was impossible.
Yeah, but you did get with a fair number of girls. More than anyone else on the floor, that's for sure.
Yes, but that's not saying much, because half of them were gay.
CS floor. I don't know.
So, here's how this worked, chat. So Dave has a van, and Dave's a designated driver, and Dave's like, all right, let's go to this bar, right? So Dave brings all of his volleyball friends, who are all tall as fuck, 6'4", and then I'm 5'9", and I'm rolling up with Dave to this place. Dave, continue the whole story. It gets really cringe.
Right. Okay. So we get to this place, all right? Great. Like, it was like one of those clubs that you go to in college because everyone you know is there, not because it's a good club or anything. But there's like a huge line to get in and everything because they need to like check everyone's ID because everyone looks like they're arguably 21 because they're all college students. $5 at the door, student night with student ID. So anyway, yeah, get rid of all that. So anyway, on the way there in the car, Matt is trying to like make conversation with my volleyball guys and everything, and he brings up Twitch. It's like, oh, and one of these guys just so happened, not like an Ice Poseidon fan. You know who Ice Poseidon is?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, Ice Poseidon. He's like this big Twitch streamer at the time. Am I allowed to say his name? Oh. Sorry.
No, you can say his name.
Okay. Because I know he's like bad or something. Oh, so anyway, so there's this guy, we'll say this streamer. Can I say his name, really?
No, you can say his name.
Yeah, you can't say his name. Okay. So yeah, it's Ice Poseidon. And yeah, so this guy, like, he's not an Ice Poseidon fan. There's my volleyball friends, my buddy Bendish. And he's just like, yeah, I know who that is. Like, he goes on the subreddit that has like the one live stream.
You can talk about live stream fails.
Oh, yeah, on live stream fails. Yeah, I think he's like, oh yeah, I've seen him on there before, or something like that. It was on Reddit. Why are you sweating? You're making me really nervous. I'm making someone know.
Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
So anyway. So like that just comes up, and Matt's like, oh, like, you know who that is? And Matt's like, oh, a kindred spirit, and that's like he just like starts talking to the guy about it. And the guy's like, yeah, kind of like nodding along like you do, and like you like mention you like Lord of the Rings. This guy read the Silmarillion. He like all he wants to talk about is where the dwarves came from. So anyway, Matt just starts talking about it. We get to the club. We're in the line. Matt's still talking about it. All right. We get through the line. There's a guy's line and a girl's line, by the way, to make things easier. I'm not 100% sure the reason. So we get in there, and real quick, Matt sent her a text, and like we find the girl, this sorority president. I'm like, oh, I've seen her around before. Like I wasn't sure if I knew who she was. I was like, oh, she is like one of those popular girls at school. So Matt goes up, and she's like, oh my gosh, like you actually came. Like I didn't think you would. It was a bit of a drive and everything. And like it's a Thursday night. So she's like, I didn't think you were gonna come up. This is awesome. And Matt's like, yeah, totally. And it was a good start to the night, right? She like seemed legitimately excited. But then, like, so we're like, she's hanging around, and like my volleyball buddies are there too, and like we're all just kind of like in like those big circles you get into in a social setting, and everyone's talking. Now Matt can't get off the fact that this guy on my team knows about Ice Poseidon, and so he's like, yeah. So you said, and he's like just bringing up events from the Ice Poseidon stream, and he's like, oh, what do you think about this drama or this arc and that sort of stuff? And again, this guy's being polite. Like he hasn't watched a lot of Ice Poseidon. Like again, this is like we're playing volleyball. We're pretty busy guys overall. Actually, that guy was a bit of I would say he was a bit more on the gamer side. But yeah, Matt starts talking about Ice Poseidon. This girl's like, I don't really know what that's about. I don't know what that is. So Matt is kind of talking to her about Ice Poseidon a little bit to explain what he's talking about. He's like, oh yeah, like Ice Poseidon, he's this Twitch streamer. This girl's like, what's Twitch? Matt's like, oh yeah, like let me give you a little more details about Twitch. I'll explain this to you a bit more. And he's like, just so she can get the context so that she'll understand all these Ice Poseidon stories Matt wants to talk about tonight. So this girl's like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of weird, and this isn't really what I was trying to sign up for. So she's like, oh, I'm going to go head off to the bar or something, She's like, I'm going to get a drink. It was like $1 Bud Lights or something. So she goes off, and Matt's like, yeah, you go ahead. Like, doesn't go with her to help her
She's
get
like,
$1
beer. Bud Lights. I'm like, dude, $1 TTS, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, dude, I can go.
I don't know that. But anyway, yeah, so she goes off. She's getting this beer. And she comes back a little while later. I think she ended up talking to some of her sorority sisters. She comes over. Matt was still talking about ice.
I was. She literally left. She left and went to go get drinks. I still couldn't stop talking about him. So the poor girl that was with Eddie, hot ass sorority girls. They're all hot sorority girls. I'm talking about Ice Poseidon. Why? I could not get his name out of my fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
my god.
Matt was just like so pumped. All right, so pumped. So he continues to talk about Ice Poseidon. Girl's like, okay, and I don't think she even says anything and just like walks away. And Matt's like, okay, well I'll go find her when I finish this story or whatever. Like, just keeps going. But she just like leaves, and like all like the sorority girls kind of disperse and everything. So it's just like me and my volleyball crew, like some of the people who like we're friends with and whatnot, like some of the girls we're talking to, and then Matt talking to my buddy Bendish about Ice Poseidon. And
oh my god.
so some more of the night goes by. It's already like we've already been there for quite a while at this point. It's not underlining, but yeah. So some more of the night goes by, and we see her again later. And I think Matt realized like, wait a minute, I think something kind of went wrong. He's like, I came here for her. I've barely seen her tonight, you know. And so he's like, oh, okay, let me get her back over here. And so he goes over, third time's a charm. And he's like, hey, and like they're chit-chat, and she's smiling a little bit. Like, I wasn't with them, so I don't know what that conversation was about. Theoretically, not Ice Poseidon. But she's like, yeah, and they come over and they start hanging out with us a little bit. In the same proximity as my guys. And then I don't, like, again, no one else was bringing this up. My buddy Bendish wasn't like, hey, so about Ice Poseidon, because again, he didn't know him very well. But somehow Matt manages, you know how he like makes like word association jokes?
Yeah.
I think that she said something that included the word ice.
She said water.
Maybe she said water, which has to do with ice.
She said, I need some water.
And yeah, he probably said something like, do you need some ice for that? Like Ice Poseidon? And then was right back on it. Like, ready to talk about Ice Poseidon again. He was going. So yeah, she left. She didn't. I don't think she came back.
I never talked to her again. Because she
yeah.
wasn't a fanboy of Ice Poseidon. And I'm like, I'm not going to talk to you. You're cringe.
Yeah. So then, she ended up, like, later that night, we saw her with another guy, who honestly was kind of like Matt, but was not Matt.
Bro, what is with this light? Keep going.
Yeah, it's being weird. But yeah, ended up leaving with this other guy, who again kind of looked like Matt, like was like a kind of like shorter Italian looking dude. I have a vague recollection of what he looked like, but I didn't know him or anything. And so Matt, we get back in the van with all my volleyball friends, and we go back to, like, I drop everybody off, and like Matt and I go back to my dorm. I mean, like, the plan had been that either he was going to stay at this girl's place. That was the original plan.
Chat, she literally told me when I was making out with her, she's like, wait, I know these lips. You're the legendary finger kiff. And I'm like, so, you know about me. And she's like, why don't you come to she literally told me this. After we make that, she said, I own the sorority. I'm the sorority leader. You can just come and stay at my place. I had nothing to do. All I had to do, chat, was just not fuck it up, and I was going to sleep with a sorority queen.
Yeah. But anyway, what happened instead is that Matt came back to my dorm, and I was like, yeah, Matt, you can crash here. It's no big deal. Like, we got a couch and everything. And he's like, what happened tonight? What went wrong? And that was the part that threw me off the most. That oftentimes, when he fucks around like that, he knows he's doing something to make everyone laugh. Like, it was making us laugh that he kept bringing up Ice Poseidon. And he was like, what went wrong tonight? I don't know. Like, she left with another guy. Like, she came here, or I came here to see her, and I was kind of like, everything was like all set up. What went wrong tonight? And I was like, oh, I think it may have been that you were talking about a Twitch streamer all night. And he was like, oh, fuck, what is wrong with me? What? You're just so taken aback by yourself, like by your own actions. So anyway, I was like, yeah, well, you can still stay the night. He's like, I'm just going back to school. And it was like 1 a.m, and he just drove all the way home. The most dejected, sad Matt I have ever seen in my life. Just like, well, not as sad.
The sadder one was when...
Yeah. That's very true. But it was just such a depressing scenario where, like, you drive up somewhere She leaves with another guy, and then you drive home alone at 1 a.m. And it was a long drive. No, we were like, our schools were not particularly close.
And I swore to her. I said, when she did that chat, I said, hey, I'm going to become the next Ice Poseidon, and you will see me. I will be a big streamer one day.
I don't think
she has no idea who you are.